You're good. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Noting everybody is present, we begin with a moment of reflection and respect. Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of agenda, resolution.
That council adopts the agenda for the meeting of February 21st, 2024.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Van Raes, Councillor Chapman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's carried. Item 4, declaration of pecuniary interest, if you have any. Item 5, delegations and public meetings. We welcome Mike Kerkvliet. I hope I pronounced that right. Sort of Mike Kerkvliet, the St. Thomas Manager of Business Development and Entrepreneurship regarding the Elgin St. Thomas Small Business Enterprise Center. Approach the podium there, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Kerkvliet. You did pretty well with that, thank you. I'm the Manager of Business Development and Entrepreneurship for St. Thomas Economic Development. And in that role, I manage our Small Business Enterprise Center. So we hold the contract with the province to provide small business supports across all of Elgin County. And so today I'm just hoping to chat a little bit about that. I want to make everybody aware of the services that we offer and what we are already doing in the community. And then hopefully at the end I'm going to kind of seek to engage and try to learn from all of you about the ways that we can best improve the service delivery of what we do in Elmer. So kind of in a nutshell, the Small Business Enterprise Center is a business counseling support service. So we have Elle Krevitz as our senior business advisor, and we've got Sarah Lynch as well, who's our other business advisor, who are a wealth of knowledge and are able to meet one-on-one with business owners in Elgin County and sort of counsel them through the startup or expansion of their business. And we also operate a couple of grant programs that we're going to talk about in some detail here. So I'm going to pass it over to Elle, and she's going to walk you through some of the programs that we offer.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the other councillors who are visiting tonight that are listening to this again. So appreciate that support all around. So primarily what we do is one-on-one consult. So every business, every stage, every industry is completely different. And if you want generic advice, you can seek out Google, but it's nicer to seek out somebody who can sit down and have a meeting with you in your business and provide that one-on-one support that you need to help you achieve what you're trying to do in your business to address your goals. One of the main programs we have, and I've distributed a few flyers, and I apologize, I'm a few short tonight, but one of the programs we have that's eligible for applications right now is our Starter Company Plus program. This is a $5,000 provincially funded grant program. We have 16 grants to distribute throughout the county and city over the course of the next year. And so applications are open until March 24th. There's a handy little QR code on the back of these. People can actually scan that and check their eligibility online. So I would encourage you to pass this to a business who you think might be wanting to grow and looking for some funding to support that initiative. We do so much more than just funding. It's all about that wraparound support. It can be new or existing businesses who are looking to start something that will help have a big impact in our communities. Our other program is Summer Company. This is our student incubator program. We have 10 spots in this program every year. It's for students aged 15 to 29 who are returning to school in the fall. That can be high school, college, university, or an alternative education program. And they get $3,000 to start their business over the summer. So that has to be new businesses, and it has to be young people, and it has to be returning to school. But again, there's other flyers there that you can pass off to a young student. If you know somebody who is entrepreneurial and wanting to start something, we're here to provide that wraparound support to start. And although this is a small program, I will say that 2 years ago we had 10 participants, and collectively in 4 months they made $70,000. That doesn't include the $30,000 we gave them in grants. So it is a high-impact program, and a lot of those businesses go on, carry on after that program, and hire employees and live on. And so it's really powerful, and it helps with youth retention in our communities. We often lose people to schools, but this is a program that helps them see opportunity for themselves here in this community and define themselves as young entrepreneurs who are leading the future. Lastly, that I'll talk about is our Foodpreneur Advantage program. I actually have an example of somebody who's been through this I'll talk about in a minute, but this is a highly concentrated regional partnership of other small business centers to provide expertise on consumer packaged good businesses. So thinking like hot sauce or any sort of, what's the other ones we've done? Yeah, we've had Misty Glen do it, all kinds of packaged good food businesses. There's a lot of regulation, a lot of red tape, and so we bring in experts and we work with London, Windsor, and a whole bunch of regional partners to deliver that program. As well, they get a $5,000 grant as part of that program. So if you know any young, budding food businesses, we've got tools just for them as well. And I'll turn it back over to Mike for more on the Horton Market.
Thanks, Al. The last program that we operate is the Horton Farmers Market. And so this is something that St. Thomas Economic Development and the Small Business Enterprise Center took over fairly recently. So for quite a while, the Horton Farmers Market was run as a committee of Council of St. Thomas. And through COVID, they sort of stumbled a little bit, and we were asked if we would take over management of the market, which we were very fortunate to be able to do. Honestly, it's one of my favorite parts of this role. The heritage of the market is very interesting. It was actually founded as a farmer's market in not quite that old, 1878, which is very interesting. I'm glad to be able to correct that. I think I said the wrong date when I was presenting to you guys. So it's been a farmer's market space for over 100 years, well over 100 years. And so we maintain it today as like a true to form farmer's market. If you ever come and shop at the Horton Farmers Market, it is more than 51% farmers that are there selling their products, whether it's produce they've grown or whether it's some sort of value-added product that they've made. And so, it's interesting that in my role, I'm running something that honestly benefits almost exclusively county businesses, not a lot of farms in St. Thomas. So it's interesting. One project that I'll sort of wax poetic about for a minute in the Horton Market is working on starting a commercial kitchen, a community commercial kitchen. So with all of the food businesses we talk to, like in Foodpreneur and in just our regular programming and our regular counseling, the single biggest barrier that any food business faces is access to a kitchen. Often it means like signing a lease for 3 or 5 years, investing a bunch of money in a kitchen before you know if your idea is really going to fly. So what we're trying to do is we're going to start up a kitchen that people will be able to rent very inexpensively by the hour. So if they've got a food business that they want to try out, they'll be able to access the kitchen, certified commercial space. A lot of people end up kind of in a bit of a gray market situation where they've got a product that they want to sell. They don't have a kitchen to make it in, so they're selling it on like Facebook and Instagram and places like this. So we'll be excited to bring that hopefully later this year, if all goes well. I also want to talk a bit about our funding mix, always important to understand. So we get funding from the province of Ontario specifically to run the core funding and the grant programs for the Small Business Enterprise Center. Of note, though, the core amount of funding that we receive from the province has not changed in like the 12 years that we've been running this program. So the number of grants has mostly declined. There was a time when we had a few more starter company grants and way more summer company. There was a time when I think we had like 25 summer company grants. But otherwise, that has stayed the same for the past 10 years, which has meant that municipal partners have had to chip in sort of more and more over time to maintain that service level. So as it is right now, City of St. Thomas and St. Thomas EDC puts in about $145,000 a year. County of Elgin, we're very fortunate to receive $50,000 a year from them. And then another $30,000 that's sort of miscellaneous funds. That's usually sponsorship for events and event revenues. That's what that line is. And I'll pass it over to Elle to talk about our outcomes.
So in 2023, we have 2 full-time business advisors, myself and Sarah Lynch, and collectively we did 760 individual one-on-one consults with businesses, which keeps us very busy and doesn't include all the events that we attend and host. We helped 91 businesses get started, we helped create 254 jobs, and we distributed $110,000 in grants. And while numbers are all good and all that, stories are better. So I wanted to tell you about Tracy. Her name is not actually Abby May, but you may know the bakery. Abby May is actually her daughter. So Tracy first came to us in the spring of 2021. She wanted to start this bakery. She had a good gluten-free gluten-free bread recipe, and she was going to make it from her home. We gave her the opportunity to sell at a traditional farmer's market, which allows you to produce food at home. So we had that opportunity to support her opening and trying out through the farmer's market. She did her first season in summer of 2021. In early 2022, she opened her storefront bakery in Aylmer, which was great to see. And in the fall of 2023, she participated in our Foodpreneur Grant program, where she's learning how to create consumer packaged goods around her granola and other products, shelf-stable products, freezer-stable products that she can sell to other businesses to, again, streamline and amplify her business and get it to that gluten-free customer, which serves a broad area. So she's done all kinds of amazing and incredible work, and she now employs a team of 6. And often when we work with people, it's not just a one-time meeting. That's not what it's about. It's about the relationship we build with them to help them with the information they need at every step of the path towards what their goal is. So Tracy's absolutely amazing. If you haven't tried her gluten-free stuff, you would never know it was gluten-free. But if you know anyone who is gluten-free, please send them her way, because she is making fantastic, fantastic products, and is just a great ambassador for what we do as well. So, yeah.
And then just in summary, so basically our purpose coming here today was 2 things. One, we want to make sure that everyone on Newcastle is informed about the services that are available to your citizens here. But we also want to get better connected to your community. So, you are the leaders of your community. We want you to tell us, what are the events that we need to be going to? Who are the people that we need to be talking to? Our intent is to very much come here, be present in your community, and do everything we can to help grow your small businesses. So. For that, we've got kind of 3 points that I'll call out, and then we'll take some questions. Hopefully you'll ask questions. It's always sad at the end of a presentation when no one has a question for you. So you can start thinking now. That's the way this works. So first of all, tell your local businesses that need support to reach out to us. Our contact info is there. Elle's handed out some literature. I've got some business cards that I can pass out as well. Honestly, reach out to us. Even if even if maybe there's nothing we can do today to help that business, we're happy to build that connection and sort of establish ourselves as someone they can call when they do have a question that we can help with in one way or another. So the second thing is engage with us about your ideas to better support small businesses in your municipality. So, maybe you see a hole in your business community that you'd like filled, that maybe we can start suggesting to entrepreneurs, whisper some ideas into their ears. Maybe there are businesses that are unique to your community that aren't receiving support through our or other services. Let us know. We can adapt and we can learn what we would need to do to help those municipalities. And lastly, share information with us about events. Often we'll see things in social media, we'll be like, darn, we wish we could have been at that event. It would have been great to talk to the vendors there or talk to whoever was doing it. And we keep our eyes open. We do our best to try to see what's coming up, but honestly invite us. If there's an opportunity to come out and be active in the community, we would like to. So thank you all for listening to this presentation, and we will now eagerly await your questions.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mike and Elle. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you. To Mike, if I may. Federal stats say that approximately 50% of startup companies don't make it to 10 years. The financial support is obviously critical to begin with. Can you help that ma and pa store or operation that is struggling to make it through those 10 years?
Absolutely.
Some kind of support or advice?
Yeah, so if you are either starting out or you're an existing business, our Starter Company Plus grant is something that very often you would be eligible for. It's a small amount of money, but that can certainly help. Longer term, in general, the support that we provide is advisement. And so whether it's trying to navigate through a difficult period in the business. Certainly during COVID, we were very focused on helping people survive that, but it might not just be something that's affecting the whole economy. It might be specific to your business. It might be succession planning. Anything like that we can provide advice for, especially in cases where businesses are maybe having to do some sort of refinancing or they're looking to expand and need some money. We're not a lender. We can't provide money, but we can sit down and help you write a business plan. And that's something that any institutional lender that you're going going to either require or like heavily suggest you have. And we can walk you through that process and leave you hopefully at the end with both a plan that will satisfy that lender, but also often the process of going through and writing that business plan, which basically forces you to ask yourself every question that you need to know to be able to successfully run that business. We can take you through that process as well. So that's what we do to help keep people in business.
Councillor Chapman?
Explain to me the difference between this program and EBRC?
Yes. So we have some crossover in services with EBRC in the business advisement space, but in terms of our sort of core offerings outside of that, we offer grant funding, which is something EBRC doesn't. So EBRC is a lender, so they can give you bridge financing in cases sometimes when institutional lending can't, often at a slightly worse interest rate, but there is absolutely a place for a lender that can lend in cases where a traditional bank may not be able to. For us, on the side of sort of smaller businesses and startups, where someone might not be eligible for a loan, often they would be eligible for one of our grant programs, and that sort of is kind of the difference. In terms of advisement, honestly, we deal with clients that deal both with SBEC and with EBRC, and we refer back and forth fairly well. So, you know, we each sort of have our own areas of focus and expertise. Like if you were going to have questions about agriculture or something like that, often you'd end up coming and talking to me, or Elle has specific expertise as well, as do the advisors at EBRC. So we try to refer back and forth as well as we can. But to answer the root of your question, the core difference is we offer grants and they offer loan financing.
Councillor Von Raes?
Thank you, through you. First, great to see you out here. Thank you very much. I think a lot of times when people see St. Thomas associated in the name, they think automatically it's only St. Thomas, and we're outside of St. Thomas, so we can't access that. So that's great. I think there's a lot of businesses that, by having you come out, will benefit from this. So my only comment, I'd like to grab a few more of these and some additional, I know I have your business card, but if I can get some additional ones, because I know there's a lot of businesses that I've spoken to recently that I think would benefit from accessing this program. As well as Elmer's going to be having a Business After 5 coming up in March. Like to, we'll send you an invite to that as well.
Okay, sounds good. We'd love to come.
Anyone else? Well, thank you again very much, Mike and Elle. I can remember when the Small Business Enterprise Center started up, and you certainly have come a long way.
Thank you.
A resolution?
Yep. That the delegation from Mike Kirkflit and Elle Krevitz regarding the Elgin St. Thomas Small Business Enterprise Center be received for information.
Moving a second, Deputy Mayor Barbas, Councillor Oslach. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Very good. Item 6, consent agendas. Resolution covers 6.1 to 6.33.
That the February 21st, 2024 consent agenda be received for information, and that the included recommendations within the staff reports be adopted, and that council approve the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on February 7th, 2024.
Mover and a seconder. Councillor Chapman, Councillor Van Raes. Any comments on any of those items? Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just referring to 6.1, the letter from Mike Sererda regarding the litter in Elmer, I would like to extend an invitation to Mr. Sererda to attend our Parks and Beautification Committee to extend this discussion further.
Good. Very good. Thank you. Any other? Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. In regards to the same matter, in defense of the majority of the people in the town of Elmer, I think we do a pretty good job of maintaining the town, not only the public parts, but the private parts. It's been an unusual winter where homeowners and the town have not had an opportunity because of normal weather patterns to get out and clean up the properties. I can appreciate how frustrating it is to be walking around and seeing somebody's dog debris scattered around the roadway or the parks and the road, the walkways, and you know the litter bags that are just strewn about periodically, but for the most part, people are responsible enough that they're cleaning up. And in reference to the apartment building down at the end of Ann Street, the new building, the owner actually provides a cigarette container. The people that are smoking in that particular area may choose not to use it. That, you can't fix stupid, okay? If people are irresponsible enough not to clean up after themselves, nobody's going to be able to fix that. But again, to the most part of the people of Elmer, we do a good job in cleaning up. And I know the parks, the roads department will be out as soon as weather permits with the sweeper and getting the roads cleaned back up.
I certainly would want to second what the Deputy Mayor says. It's, you know, for the most part, people in this town are very good in cleaning up. And I'd also, Mike, I'd like to take you up on your walk with Bernie sometime when the weather is nicer. So, any other comments? Seeing none, we have a resolution on the floor. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Action item 7.1, Director of Infrastructure on report on the Willow Run dedication resolution.
That report operations 10-24 respecting the Willow Run Parkland dedication and multi-use pathway be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Councillor Desrosiers and Councillor Rai. Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to members of council, this report is for information and an update on the Willow Run subdivision. This is a fairly good news report. The subdivision agreement has been finalized and is ready for execution. As a part of the Planning Act requirements, the developer has agreed to transfer all of the lower lands of the subdivision as parkland to the town. These are the lands beside Catfish Creek that are west of Rotary Park. In total, it's approximately 11 acres of new parkland that will be incorporated into the town's park system. The parkland will also have a multi-use pathway that will be constructed with the subdivision. The pathway will provide active transportation options for residents and future maintenance to storm facilities. Staff have negotiated to include an extension of the pathway through Rotary Park to Elm Street. This would link to the existing pathways at Optimus Park and provide a future pathway connection point to the East Elgin Complex, which is to the west of the subdivision. This results in approximately 1.4 kilometers of new multi-use pathways that will be incorporated into the town system. Another bonus of this project is that because the pathway will provide a future connection point to the EECC, the project funding qualifies for utilization of the Parks and Recreation DC reserve to fund the additional pathway. This cost-sharing project is very positive for the town and the development as a whole. The developer has secured a contractor for the works and will commence construction as soon as the subdivision agreement has been executed. And on that, I would be happy to answer any questions council might have.
Okay. Councillor Rai.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple comments and a question. I love the path, so I'm really happy that this is actually happening. It's great that we're adding that much more parkland too. My question is at what point do we talk about putting a crosswalk between the two parks, crossing up over Beach?
Through your worship,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
to Councillor Rai. That has been kind of thought of, but until the pathway is built, because Elm Street is a county roadway, again, we'll have to do the full analysis on the crossing for a PXO crossing. So until it's built, we can't really do that full analysis. So I would like to wait until it's built, and then we can proceed with an analysis and see if a crossing is warranted there and what type of crossing.
Thanks.
Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment, I think this is a fabulous report and initiative that the town is supporting. Although there is a initial cost to develop the trail, it's a recreational item that is low cost relatively to the town to utilize. So anybody can use it for a variety of recreational activities. So the fact that we're extending this and further enhancing this service, this is a fantastic thing.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. Connecting the complex to the rest of the trail system has been years in coming and on many people's wish lists. And this is a very cost-efficient way to do it, and good to see that we're making big strides forward.
Seeing no one else, we have a resolution on the floor. All those in favor? Is carried. Thank you. Item 7.2, Chief Administrative Officer, non-resident fee for the pool. Resolution.
That report CAO 11-24 respecting non-resident fees, Elmer Pool, be received as information, and that council direct staff to implement the non-resident fee bylaw so that it is in place for the 2024 Elmer Pool season.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Barber, Councillor Van Reyes. Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is to add a non-resident fee to support the YWCA programming at the Elmer Pool. Staff have been in contact with the YWCA following the decision of the other major municipal partner to cancel their agreement and withdraw their funding support. The YWCA was quite concerned by this development, as this municipality accounts for 40 to 50% of the pool usership. Town staff have assured the YWCA of Elmer's continued support for their programming and their life-saving training. The withdrawal was a surprise to the town. The withdrawing municipality's Parks and Recreation Master Plan actually recommended increased investment in Elmer Pool, including starting to make capital contributions to the pool. That being said, we respect the rights and decisions of other municipalities in respect to altering service levels for their residents. Staff do not believe that the fees recovered will offset the reduction of the YWCA funding. Realistically, if the fees are approved, we would recover less than half of the funding lost. All recovered funds would go directly to the YWCA. In terms of user fees, the fee cannot exceed the actual cost of services. So staff have reviewed the cost of services for the non-resident fees, and realistically, the increase could have been as high as $115 to $150 for the swimming lessons. So we're not proposing such significant fees here. I do want to ensure council and the community that I want everybody to know this isn't a knee-jerk reaction. Non-resident user fees are commonplace in municipal government. Tillsonburg, for example, has aquatic non-residence fees. Elmer's response to introduce non-residence fees was entirely predictable. While there would be some uncertainty about what amount those non-resident fees would be, the introduction of them was predetermined by the withdrawal of the YWCA support. I want to identify to the community that this is not an issue of conflict between municipalities. Councils are empowered to make decisions upon the service levels and amenities they provide to their residents. We respect and understand that better than anyone. The issue before Elmer Council isn't to determine if residents in adjacent municipalities should have equal access to our pool. That decision has already been made for those residents by their council who withdrew from the agreement and pulled the funding from the YWCA. This was an appropriate decision to impact service levels and access to an amenity that municipal councils are empowered to make. Elmer is not a regional service provider for other municipalities, nor is it our role to comment upon how other municipal councils value YWCA programming. Those are aspects that are outside of our purview and control. Elmer Council is left only with the decision upon how to continue to provide high-quality recreation opportunities for our residents in a manner that best protects the interest of our ratepayers. That really is what is before council tonight. I do know that some members of council have been contacted by residents of another municipality that are upset at the notion of non-resident fees. I understand this is not a routine decision for our council and that it weighs heavily upon Elmer Council. If council wants more time to hear from our residents on this matter, I am supportive of that. I am not here to suggest that you rush into any decision without taking time to have sober second thoughts. Certainly, any time that council needs to have assist in their decision-making is important. If council desires more time, I would suggest referring this report back to staff so that we could do some more work on comparison of non-resident fees in other jurisdictions. That way, we could continue to work upon this file and work in coordination with the YWCA on the outcomes. Prior to opening up the floor, I just want to highlight that my hope is that my report and comments reflect a sincere desire to advance the town in the YWCA's interest without courting conflict on this matter. I really believe it's important that the town and myself are respectful of service-level decisions made by other councils. My desire is not to create conflict, nor do I desire to involve the town in another municipality's dialogue with their residents. My preference is to avoid placing Elmer staff or our council in a position where we are fielding comments or concerns from our non-residents. I hope I've highlighted that sufficiently enough for everyone, why we're not the forum for those discussions or comments. We're Elmer. This is simply a matter of the town needed to respond to a situation, and we're trying to do so in a manner that explains it well for our residents and is also respectful of other councils. And with that, I'll try to answer any questions council might have.
Councillor Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Personally, I don't need more time to think about it. I'm strongly opposed to this recommendation, as it does not seem like an ethical solution. This non-resident fee comes across as a form of retaliation and contradicts our town's strategic plan. Even though we are separated via municipalities, we are a community nonetheless. Citizens are struggling to get by as it is. We do not need to penalize families and in turn children by implementing a higher cost when swimming is an essential life skill. We live in a community that is surrounded by lakes, rivers, ponds, pools, and drownings are a threat to community health. We should be encouraging these programs, not discouraging them. Furthermore, by encouraging non-residents to visit our facilities, we are additionally encouraging economic vitality by presenting retail opportunities within our town. Should council implement this recommendation, non-residents will patron neighboring communities for similar recreational programs, and their business will go with them. I take my son to a variety of programming across Ontario, including but not limited to Stratford, Tillsonburg, London, St. Thomas, and Malahide, and none of them charge a non-resident fee. This report does not represent an inclusive environment within our community, and I ask council to consider the information provided, the financial and ethical repercussions of this recommendation, and support opposition. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Riley.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question and a comment. Has there been any talk with Malahide as far as resolving the issue or coming up with a new agreement? Just because I'll say axed it doesn't mean that we can't come up with another one for, say, right? Just because you think that doesn't mean that that's.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to highlight, the non-residence fees are common. They're used in municipal government. So I don't think there's nothing unethical about producing a non-resident fee. And certainly, we were not consulted by Malahide administration upon their decision to remove the funding. And they have not approached us subsequently about entering a new agreement. So certainly, I did read their report and their concerns in them. If we were notified in advance, we would have worked through those issues with them.
You have a supplementary, Councillor?
So, but my question was, have we actually asked them, or have we came to them and asked them yet, or you didn't really answer the question?
Yeah, we received a letter indicating that they've canceled their agreement. That's the communication.
To try to have a new agreement.
Certainly, we're here before council, and if that's council's direction, to try to negotiate a new agreement, but they've made a decision to remove their funding for this year.
I think that we should focus on trying to get funding rather than from people, directly from non-residents. I think we should spend our energy actually trying to make an agreement with them, even if it's for a portion, rather than nothing and just trying to push it on to everybody else. I did swimming lessons there 30 years ago. Like, the modest increase that you talk about might not be a lot for some people, but it is for a lot of people, whether they're in our direct community or not. I think it's time that I understand where you're coming from and what you're saying, but instead of just coming out with this, I think it should be deferred or just not talked about. But I think there should be different options talked about rather than just coming out with this one, and this is the only option. There should be more options other than one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, when a council makes a budgetary decision and removes funding from a budgetary decision, they need to reopen the decision themselves. It's disrespectful for me or for anybody from Elmer to go to Malahide Council and suggest that they pass a 2/3 resolution to reopen this matter and reintroduce funding into their budget. That's their council decision, and we need to respect that. What we're suggesting here is that Elmer residents shouldn't be paying for Malahide residents. That's because there is a financial cost, and it will be borne by Elmer residents if we don't do something.
Councillor Ozolais.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to defer this motion.
Do you want to make a motion to defer?
Yes.
Do we have a seconder for that?
staff report.
Have a seconder for the motion to defer? Deputy Mayor Barber. So the motion on the floor now is a defer motion, but nevertheless continue the discussion on this.
Worship, can I just speak
Yes, sir.
for just a moment? Thank you. It's certainly our neighbors' prerogative to set the level of service, and they've chosen to not support this particular program. Being able to swim is a life skill. We're surrounded by water, whether it be on a farm or the lake or the creek. Opportunities are boundless for numbers of people to be in trouble in water. And that life skill of how they can save themselves or save others is something that I think every member of this council have probably learned at one time or another. And to deny that for any particular reason, based on a relatively minor dollar amount, I think by deferring it and asking for a further staff report may give the public an opportunity to speak to their elected representatives and bring some kind of pressure on our neighbor. The end goes, though, that if there isn't any change in the direction, that we as Elmer Council have to decide whether we're going to pick up the burden of the cost of providing that necessary service, if I may, to our neighbors that aren't taxpayers. $19,000 extra to Elmer won't break the bank, but is it our responsibility to provide that service for people that aren't taxpayers? So that is an issue that we have to decide. And deferring it with an addition for an update on the staff report, I think is the most logical way to get some kind of resolution to this matter. We can't let the swimming program die for the non-residents just because of this issue.
Anyone else? Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you. Just following up on Deputy Barber's comments, one thing that I just thought of was we're saying that we're doing this because these community members these members that are outside of the town of Elmer are utilizing this service and we're billing them back. Well, I utilize services in Malahide. They don't bill Elmer back for that. I utilize services in Tillsonburg, and Tillsonburg doesn't bill Elmer back. I utilize services in St. Thomas, and St. Thomas doesn't bill Elmer back. So why is that? Why is it okay for us to bill back Malahide, but nobody ever bills back Elmer for the services that they share? Can somebody explain that?
Hypothetical question, are you asking that specifically?
Specific.
Through you. So when you're thinking about municipal government, generally, and I dealt with this a lot when I worked for the city of Hamilton, is that we would have, it was one city, so it was all together, but we have the rural areas of Flamborough, and they complain about, well, our taxes are so high because we're paying for the city of Hamilton. Well, some of that is you pay for your proximity to the hospital. You pay for your proximity to the Cops Coliseum. I forget what it's called. You pay for your proximity to all the amenities that a city has. So generally, when you think of it, the people are coming in to Aylmer and they're benefiting from the services here. I know every time I take my kids to the splash pad here, over half of the people there aren't Aylmer residents. They come into town and they enjoy it. And they do bring economic development here. What we're looking at here with the pool is a situation where we have 50-50 usership. This deal has been very favorable. Our neighbor hasn't had any capital contributions. It's identified as an asset within our neighbor's Parks and Recreation Master Plan. There's long-term planning within that plan to support this one, and we found out that the funding is going to be removed. I don't think there's any similar example to where our residents are going outside and paying or utilizing another facility, and there are places like Tillsonburg that do have non-resident fees for their aquatics park, which are, $25 to $35. So we can go back and do further analysis on non-residence fees. It is very common when you have these types of situations in municipal government, and it's not unique, and it's really, there's not other options that we have except closing the pool service or swallowing the cost totally. So it's important to treat this for what it was, which was a unique partnership for the programming that's gone back, I don't know, so many years it's hard to tell. We can finally find out when the pool was initially put into place, so.
Councillor Van Raes.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's obviously a sensitive topic. I understand the importance of having the pool and learning water safety and swim lessons. I have little kids myself, and I went through it when I was a kid. But the situation basically, with the cost coming up on what work might need to be done with the pool, I know there's going to be additional costs. So by deferring it, I'm not saying I'm for it or against user fees, but I understand why we would need user fees, because it's not fair to Aylmer residents to have to pick up the extra cost because someone decided they don't want to invest in it anymore. I would like to, if we defer it, hear more feedback from Aylmer residents, not just non-user or non-residents. I'd like to hear more feedback from our residents as to what they'd like to see, because initially they're the ones that are going to be paying for this. So that's, like, I joined Aylmer Council to support and represent Aylmer residents. That's what I'm here for. So if we're deferring, hopefully, if anyone's watching, please provide feedback. We'd love to see that.
Good point. Deputy Mayor Barber.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up, I think the important difference on the fee-for-service thing is that we're not providing an identity. We've already got the pool, and we're paying for the cost of the pool. The monies that are being talked about here, the $19,000, is directly given to the Y to provide their service. And it isn't a question of sharing the cost of a capital project. We're not asking for that. It's the reimbursement of the funds that are necessary to bring the service into town. But deferring it is the logical thing to do.
One more, Councillor Van Raes.
Last comment, from me anyways. By deferring it, will it have any impact on the start of the year, start of the season for the YWCA?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it won't. We'll make sure that we don't want to impact the programming. That's our major concern here, is to work with the YWCA to alleviate their concerns about, because they are concerned, and to ensure that Aylmer residents continue to get the best quality of recreation services possible.
Okay.
Very quickly, Your
Very
Worship.
quick. Deputy Mayor.
The pool is going to happen. It's not a question of whether it's going to be there or not as far as the swimming lessons go. It's really just a question of who pays what.
My basic feeling is that I'm against residence fees, but I'm willing to listen to the information that comes through deferring this and have staff look at, more rationale in other communities. So the motion on the floor is to defer, and so I would support that. I think we should put a time limit on it.
Did I read the motion?
Pardon?
Did I read the deferral motion?
Yeah, I'd read the defer motion, just so we're clear.
Yep. That council defer consideration of report CAO 11-24 respecting non-resident user fees, Elmer Pool, and that council request an additional information on the matter in the form of a staff report at a future meeting of council.
Shouldn't we put a time limit on it, I think?
Middle of March, perhaps?
Councilor Oslach, you made the motion
Yes,
a couple of months. Is that fair for staff?
middle
to-
of March,
Pardon?
the middle of March.
Middle of March? That's
Be March
quick.
20th.
That's less than a month. I think staff probably needs more time than that to come back.
I think we'll make sure it gets back as quickly as possible. I just want to make sure that we've done enough consultation with the YWCA, and because I don't want to pull out any, but the end of March or early April, I don't have a problem with council. Certainly, I can commit to that even if you don't put it in the motion.
Yeah,
Well,
Is
the
that fine?
first meeting in April.
okay. All right. Councilor Ryan.
For you, Mr. Mayor, just what exactly is the staff report going to tell us?
Yeah, I'm just going to find some other examples of municipalities that certainly have non-resident fees to give you some comparisons on the fees that we're suggesting. And you can kind of evaluate that aspect. And also, there's a potential that the dialogue could be advanced elsewhere too as well. As you suggest, I mean, if we are approached by a municipality and they want to have, some discussions about this, we're always open. Our door's always open to discourse. So that's what we hope to do. And if there is a way that we can resolve this and make everybody happy, that's what we look for.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Oslach.
Could we survey the people in Elmer?
I'm sorry, survey the who?
People in Elmer.
The people of Elmer.
Yeah.
How do you intend to do that?
Well, the administrator.
Survey is it's a big deal. I think, I think we have a month and a half or so, and the people are listening to this particular discussion, and as Councilor Van Raes pointed out, call us, talk to us, they have the chance to have their input. Rather, there's no easy mechanism to survey the people of the town. Councilor Desrosiers.
Would we be able to do a social media poll?
So through the chair, if it was the direction of council, we could do a similar process as we do with our budget survey or our strategic plan survey, using a third-party service, advertise it through social media. We generally get pretty good response. So that would be an option if you wanted to include it, and we could do it on that timeline. That wouldn't be a problem.
I think one of the challenges would be what questions do we ask, because you could very much impact the results. If we asked, do you desire to pay for pool programming for neighboring residents, I think that you get a lot of negativity. Or if if we put it in the context, do you desire to provide life-saving training, right? So it could be a skewed result. I don't know, Owen, how many questions do you think we could actually get up there and feasibly get a response?
We could, on the budget survey, for example, we usually go to 10 to 20 questions. So on a matter like this, you could easily have a few questions and get a strong response.
So we just need some discretion to, the questions, we wouldn't be able to pre-circulate the questions. We just have to kind of guess based on this discussion and try to balance both sides of the questions out so it's fair and balanced.
Yes, because as you say, it depends on the questions you ask, and council won't have a chance to see the questions before we do it. We're working on this timeline. Councillor DeRosa,
Sorry,
you
just
had
a
a question.
follow-up from that. Could it be just a very plain question? Are you in favor of non-resident fees for non-residents? Like, just keep it simple? Like, do we have to really make it more complicated?
Yeah, I think you could, but the other side of the coin is, are you in favor of, I think you're missing if you're non-resident fees, or are you in favor of subsidizing programming for other municipalities? Would be another question that we'd want to ask.
It's not that simple as we're saying here. Councillor Chapman, you had a comment.
I've gone to the Tilsonburg Pearl, and I have paid a non-resident fee. So is it possible in your research that you look and see whether they do have a non-residence fee for the use of their pool? We're very specific. It's not for all items. It's for the operation of a program within our capital asset. So if they were to go to Tilsonburg and use their program, is there a non-residence fee? If they were to go to the Y in St. Thomas, what is the fee that they charge? Is it still cheaper for them to come here and pay a non-resident fee and use our pool, or to go to St. Thomas and pay whatever fee they charge? So yes, it does bring people to our town, but are they always going to the merchants? Are they just coming in and using the facility and leaving again? Or are they coming and shopping and doing all those things? So I get the point of bringing people into our town, but if they're only coming to use the facility at basically a reduced rate, because their taxes will not go up if their municipality is not paying, I'll round it off to 20,000, and we are absorbing that 20,000. We are hence paying for their child's lessons. So if there's a benefit to them coming, 20,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money. But if they're coming and using the facility and going home again and not spending money in town, then $20,000 is a lot of money. Does that? So if there's some way that in the research that the staff are doing, find out what non-residence fees are charged in our surrounding area and what other communities absorb the non-residence fee.
This is getting rather complicated.
I know.
Yeah, and I think that's my challenge with I think it's very hard if we do an online survey to avoid us getting involved in the debate that shouldn't be happening at this council table, but should be happening at another council table. So I'd suggest that we try to stick in our lane and not get, because it's, you could get very close to our council commenting on another council's decision, which I want to avoid as much as possible. And that's why a survey might not be a good example, and we just say, Elmer residents, send us your feedback. You've got the clerks, you know the councilors, we got the submit forms, and that could be kind of an easier way. And we will do the work and provide analysis on user fees for you.
We'll leave it at that. I think the motion on the floor is basically to defer until the first meeting in April. And at that point, if you need to go dig any deeper, as you say, or dive deeper, I guess is the word, we can do it at that time. The motion is to defer till April the 1st. Any further comments on that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Okay, item 7.3, Chief Administrator for Police Services Board.
Yep. That report CAO 13-24 respecting Police Service Board member remuneration be received as information, and that council direct staff to present a bylaw to establish the rate of remuneration of the Police Service Board members at $120 per month and $175 per month for the chair.
Mover and seconder. Councilor Roselach moves. Councilor Chapman second. Christian's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the main reason for this report is that staff wanted to see the police board remuneration captured in a bylaw. In that process of going through there, that we saw a need for a modest one-time increase in compensation. We did not go into the work of doing a full analysis of all boards. However, we did examine a few, and it indicated that ours was comparatively low. So we thought, since it's been so long, that it would probably be a good idea to give a small upward adjustment. With that, I will try to answer any questions council might have.
Council. Councilor Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regardless of the Ontario Regulation 268/10, I don't feel any committee of council should be compensated for participation, as it directly influences the position of which it is in place to serve. Our economy is not in a prosperous time, and every time we approve a modest increase, the expenses begin to add up. We are then left with a considerable budget and retroactively coheres to make cuts, such as service levels or grant funding, to lower the tax levy impact. Consideration for remuneration is expected. However, the circumstances surrounding the request must reflect an economical, diligent, and impartial exercise of office, and I feel this request does not reflect that. Therefore, I am opposing this request and staff's recommendation.
Any other comments? Councilor Rahi.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a question. Is there any other boards that get, I can't say the word because it's too big, paid?
So, yeah.
That we sit on, sorry.
Yeah, so generally, police services boards, the only other big ones are usually committee of adjustments, but council is also a committee of adjustments, so you don't get extra compensation for that. And, there are some, the Earth Board, but we ended the remuneration for council when council this term decided to get council appointee off. Council's appointees off, it used to always be a council member that sat on that. And those are the main ones, but yeah, it's fairly common.
So I have I guess a suggestion. I would like to leave the pay where it's at. If you need a bylaw in order to keep that, then I would support where it's at, but I don't think the modest increase needs to happen, in my opinion.
So it would stay where it's at if this were defeated.
That would, yeah.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. You want to, you've seen the items in the motion, so all those in favor? Can we have a recorded vote? I'm not sure what they're voting, so.
Can I ask a question too? Sorry, just a clarification. Is it not a conflict of interest for the two board members to approve their own modest increase?
I'm sorry, I really couldn't hear that.
Is it not a conflict of interest for the two police board members to approve their own increase?
So, through the mayor, members of council are able to comment on their own remuneration under the Conflict of Interest Act.
Okay. So back to recorded vote.
Councillor Rahe.
No.
Councillor Van Vrees.
Yes.
Councillor Chapman.
Yes.
Councillor Desrosiers.
No.
Councillor Oslach.
No.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Yes.
Mayor Cookit.
Yes.
So on a vote of 4-3, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Move on to item 7.4, Director of Legislative Services, dealing with bylaw 124.
So the resolution is that report clerk 04-24 respecting bylaw 01-24 direction be received as information.
Mover and a seconder. Councilor Rahi and Deputy Mayor Barber. Discussion. I'm sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
So this report is informational. It's here to inform council as to why bylaw 01-24 was relisted on the agenda. So as you will recall, at the December 6th meeting of council, council provided direction to bring forward this bylaw. At the January 10th meeting, we brought forward the bylaw, at which point we moved and seconded a motion to approve all the bylaws. We then defeated a motion to divide the question, which would have allowed for bylaw 01-24 to be voted on separately. And then we subsequently made a vote to amend that resolution to remove bylaw 01-24, which effectively deferred the bylaw without direction to staff as to when to bring it back. So as we have committee appointments tonight, we have reverted to the direction at the previous meeting to bring the bylaw forward to council for consideration. And it is listed as bylaw, or item 9.3.1 on your agenda to be considered tonight. I will just let council know, I've also prepared resolutions to consider it separately, as I heard from members of council that that was the desire. So those are ready when we arrive at the item.
Very well, as you heard, there's basically an information item. Comments, discussion from council? Deputy Mayor Barber?
Thank you, Worship. 9.3.1, I would like council to consider it on its own.
Okay, we haven't got there yet, but we will, I'll come to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Councillor Desrosiers.
Thank you. As mentioned before, the reason I do not support this reappointment is due to the motive of the recommendation. The mayor is attempting to reprimand a member of council for acting on their obligatory oath of office, silence a measure of financial integrity, and intimidate a member of council for disagreeing with his opinion and personal agenda. I would like to make it very clear to this council and the mayor that regardless of outcome today, I will not be silenced, nor will I refrain from doing my job. Should council vote to support the mayor's recommendation, nothing is preventing me from attending meetings, asking questions, or issuing a Freedom of Information request should I or any member of the public voice a reason for concern. Any member of council who continues to support the original motion is formally stating their support for breach of conduct, abuse of power, and unethical practice of office. Therefore, I would like to recommend and make a motion to amend bylaw 0124 to remove the BIA committee reappointment, specifically Schedule F, bylaw 38-22, from the list of committee appointments.
Okay, my listening devices aren't as good as they used to be. I'm not sure what she is asking, what Councillor Desrosiers is asking to happen.
So Councillor Desrosiers is asking to basically address item 9.3.1 right now, and she would like to amend the bylaw to remove the schedule that addresses the BIA.
We proceed to receive this for information and deal with that under bylaws? Could we?
I think at this point, we're going to leave that bylaw until we get to it in the order of the agenda. I'm not going to change the order of the agenda at this point. All right, so whatever motion you just made or whatever, you can make when we separate 9.3.1 from the bylaw list. We're not at that point in the agenda yet.
So what's the point of this report then?
Sorry.
Through the mayor, this report was for information purposes so that council knew why this bylaw was listed on the agenda again.
Okay.
Okay. It's all, as I mentioned, it's just for information purposes that we have this particular 7.4 item, right? So you understand why the bylaw is appearing on this agenda. All right. Any other questions? All right, we have 7.4 on the floor. All those in favor? 1, 2, that's carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is new business and matters of urgency for item 8.1. And I wish to relinquish the chair to the deputy mayor so that I may move the motion and participate in the debate. So I'll ask Deputy Mayor Barber to take my chair.
8.1?
Yes.
Sure, okay, I'll just call it out. Next order of business then will be 8.1.
Yes, through the chair, the resolution, as moved by Mayor Cookett, reads as follows. Where it is the role of the head of council under Section 225 of the Municipal Act to provide leadership and recommendations to council in respect to their roles and responsibilities. And whereas a council member has brought accusations before council at the meetings held on December 6, 2023 and January 10th, 2024. And whereas it is in the interest of council to ensure its members are held to the highest possible standards of accountability and adherence to the code of conduct, therefore be it resolved that the council of the town of Aylmer requests the integrity commissioner to investigate the allegations made on December 6, 2023 and January 10th, 2024, and on social media, and that such a review is to consider the conduct of both members upon this matter, and that council requests a public report upon the matter from the Integrity Commissioner to include advice upon the application of reprimands or penalties against either member as outlined in Section 223.45 of the Municipal Act.
Do we have a motion to receive?
No, we'd be looking for a seconder.
Okay. Okay, we have the notice of motion that's before you from Mayor Cookett. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Member Oslach? In discussion.
Go to the mover first.
Okay. And we'll have that discussion now. Mayor Cookett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I find no joy in doing any of this at all. It seems to have kind of gotten out of hand. I have no intention of, as Councilor Desrosiers just mentioned, of shutting her up or not letting her talk. She can talk all she wants to. I'm not used to these allegations at all. In my former life as vice principal and principal for 19 years, I've had lots of occasion to make people angry at me and disagree with what I've said. I've suspended over 750 students in my career. I've never, ever been accused by students, staff, or anyone of treating them unfairly. The suspended students still come up to me and say I was tough. So this whole thing is a surprise to me, really a surprise. As mayor, I have the authority to recommend, and that's what I did, was recommend for council approval. I have the authority to recommend the appointment and the removal of councilors from committees for the good of the town as I see it. I've done so several times in my last stint as mayor, including changing committee structure after the first year. I even removed a citizen appointment as part of the recommendation. I have spoken to everyone that's concerned in this particular recommendation. There didn't appear to be an issue at the time that I spoke to people. So, as I said in the first thing, I was surprised that this is happening. I need to give a bit of my own backstory about this, because I haven't spoken to this as chair of council. It was not my right to kind of take on this as enter into the dispute. So I haven't given any kind of, backstory, especially about the freedom of information item. The freedom of information item that was submitted to the BIA was one that was sent with a council email, and which stipulated that if there were any issues, to talk to a member of staff. This was, in essence, an FOI that council was requesting. And council, of course, did not support that FOI. It was a private one. And when I spoke to Councilor Desrosiers over the phone, whatever day it was, November the 9th or something like that, she did ask, as she stated, on what do I do next, or what's the next step, or something like that, and I said, withdraw the motion, withdraw the FOI, which of course meant withdraw the FOI that she had originally sent using council email. I did state at the same time that if you wish to do an FOI, you can do a private one. There was never any attempt to shut her up or anything, and besides, the information she required was given freely by the BIA at its next meeting. So again, kind of surprised at the allegation that somehow I acted unethically or as a bully or as power hungry or all of those things that I'm certainly not used to being accused of. I'm not the kind of person that does things like that. So, as I said, I find no joy in this particular motion, but I think there has to be some kind of a resolution to this, because we have to live together as a council. So, can we not just agree, Councillor Desrosiers, can we not just agree as adults to apologize to each other, shake hands and get on with the business of town? I'm quite happy to apologize and state that I am truly sorry for making Councillor Desrosiers feel that she was treated unfairly and promise to do better in the future. I can make that apology. Can we not both apologize and get on with this instead of going this official route?
Sorry, are you asking me?
Yes.
Going this official route, this was your notice of motion. I
Yes.
didn't make a notice of motion to go an official route. You did.
Yes. And I'm asking you,
You're asking to retract your own notice of motion?
I would if we both apologize.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to hand this out. I had this information prepared last time, but nobody wanted to look at it. So here you all have copies. Whether you choose to look at it or not. So obviously,
Mr. Chair, I believe I still have the floor.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me, but okay.
So, because I haven't had an answer from you. I've asked you a question. Can we not do this?
I would like to address the floor before we talk about that further.
Fine, I can relinquish the floor.
Can I talk?
Are you asking to?
Yes, may I talk?
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, I've prepared a statement, but I would like to address several of the comments that the mayor has made in his comments in chronological order. Firstly, not used to these allegations at all. That's not accurate. All of council received an email back in April of 2023 when we were discussing the property at 230 John Street, the Mike Hutchison property. And a similar behavior was demonstrated by the mayor. And several members of this council, I'm not going to name them, came together and discussed why the behavior was wrong and how we didn't feel that it was ethical. At that time, I, as well as another member of this council, the CAO and the clerk, sat down with the mayor, had a discussion, and said that this behavior was unacceptable and that it cannot continue to happen. The exact same behavior that's happening now. So, not used to these allegations at all? That is not accurate. Secondly, he addressed that in my FOI, I essentially was making a reference like this was coming from council because I said you can talk to staff. in my FOI. If you have any questions, please talk to, and it wasn't staff, it was specifically our clerk at the time. And I was directed by our CAO to do that because our clerk was our integrity officer. And the person who was receiving the FOI would more than likely have questions, and they should direct them to that staff member. So that's why that staff member was attached, and that's why that staff member was included, because he was the integrity officer.
Mr. Chair, I rise on a point of order. This resolution deals with a request to engage the Integrity Commissioner to investigate the allegations. Councillor Desrosiers is bringing in other people into this argument that have nothing to do with this particular resolution at this time. So I would posit that this information is irrelevant and therefore not, out of order.
Your point of order, Mayor Cookett, is well-founded. We're dealing with a specific item, notice of motion, and we're dealing specifically with that particular matter.
So can you clarify exactly what was brought in that wasn't reflective of what we're talking about?
The notice of motion is very specific in the documentation, and we're dealing specifically with that motion.
So I can't address the comments that he's made about his own notice of motion?
In my opinion, the dialogue is off track of the notice of motion.
Okay.
The
It was
remarks-
addressing his comments, so I don't really understand that, but I can skip this then, and I can just go to my statement, if that makes it.
Go to your statement would be appropriate.
Okay. I would like to state on the record so that council and any member of the public who is listening knows, I was personally contacted and directed by senior staff members to investigate the BIA as it pertained to a procurement matter. You all have the emails in front of you that clearly stipulate that. When I received pushback from the BIA, I was then further directed by our CAO to issue a Freedom of Information request. Following this request, I was then contacted by Mayor Cookett, who instructed me to retract the FOI. Not because I asked him what was next. That never happened. He instructed me flat out to retract it because he did not agree with it. When I refused, I was then brought into his office and instructed that I was being removed from the related committee as a form of punishment for defying his order. Taxpayers in this community have a right to know that their tax dollars are being spent ethically and responsibly. What the mayor and any supporting member of this council is trying to do is silence me. I am here to do my job and ensure that anything done at this council or any other affiliated committee is done so in the best interest of the community and not the individuals sitting at the table. If the mayor wishes to allocate taxpayer resources to an investigation, he can. This notice of motion is political prospecting, grandstanding, and ironically, another form of retribution. While I would like to hear the conclusion of an investigation, I do not support spending taxpayer money when council is perfectly capable of reviewing the evidence and having an honest discussion. I have been completely transparent and cooperative with council. This expense will produce nothing tangible nor valuable for taxpayers. The inquiry and FOI were not a witch hunt. I was contacted and directed by senior staff. I followed the direction and guidance that was provided by senior staff. If I was not contacted by senior staff to investigate, I would not have the knowledge that policy was not historically being practiced. Regardless of outcome, I'm going to continue to do my job. I did not nominate myself to council for financial gain. I did it to serve, better my community, and ensure that the high taxes that this town pays are going to responsible resources and spent impartially and ethically. It is clear from the correspondence, the evidence, and resulting behavior that this is not the case, and clearly, town staff feel the exact same way.
Chair.
Mr. Chair, I certainly need to comment on the behalf of the characterization. Staff have not done anything inappropriate. We've acted, myself, Josh Brick, other staff, senior staff involved have acted in accordance, and I do believe that if this goes to an investigation, there will be, that would be the indication from the Integrity Commissioner, is that staff have done nothing inappropriate. I do need to clarify that for the record.
And for the record, I would like to clarify, I never suggested that you did do anything unacceptable. I feel how you advised me and provided guidance was acceptable. What's unacceptable is the fact that I'm being punished for following that advice. There was nothing unacceptable about it. It was good. I thought it was sound, unless you think retroactively it wasn't. I followed what I was told by senior staff. I never said that it was unacceptable. I agree with what you told me to do. What I don't agree with is the fact that I'm now trying to be punished because I followed that advice. That's what I don't agree with.
For all members of council, would you direct your comments through the chair, please? Councilor Rahi?
I have a couple questions through you.
Go ahead.
What she said you said, did you say it? When she said that she felt like she was being punished, and you said, I'd be lying if I told you it didn't have a little bit to do with that, just to be direct. Did you say that you were removing her from the BIA to punish her?
Absolutely not. The word punish was never mentioned in that context at all.
Okay, I just used that, I guess, but my next question is, I guess, if that's, how is this resolved?
Well, I had a proposition.
Gentlemen,
Is it
through the chair,
still-
gentlemen, through the chair, please.
I'm going
And
there. Instead, we seem to be arguing the case for the Integrity Commissioner, rather than, going on and on and on about it here. The same kinds of things will be told to the Integrity Commissioner. So let's get on with this. I made the proposition to end it with simple, sincere apologies. That hasn't been taken up. So let's go to the Integrity Commissioner.
And that would be my observation, that if the council is going to deliberate, why are we discussing a notice of motion? We have a notice of motion on the floor, and to debate that, the merits of the notice of motion is the intent of the Integrity Commissioner. Councilor Rahi?
Question? What is Councillor Drogier looking for this to be resolved? Is an apology from Mayor Crooked appropriate, or what are we looking for? And if I follow up, sorry, in my opinion, to avoid the ethics commissioner is probably important. So if we can resolve it at this table, I would support that. I would also support getting to the bottom of it, because it is kind of a lingering issue that needs to be resolved. So if we can't resolve it right now, then the ethics commissioner should be involved. I do believe that's a waste of time and energy, money,
Okay.
potentially.
Andy?
One thing that might assist council here is, this is just council's decision on whether or not an Integrity Commissioner investigation will be filed. There's nothing to stop an individual member after council's decision from pursuing their own complaint on this matter. So that is something that, even if you make a decision, it is not dictating that the Integrity Commissioner will not investigate this.
Councilor DeRossi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, just as the CEO said, we don't need a resolution from council to request a integrity commissioner. If that is the desire of the mayor, this council's approval was never required. He could have just went to the integrity commissioner, which is exactly why I said it was prospecting and grandstanding. As far as Councilor Rahi asked me a question, do you want me to answer it or no?
Stand by.
Right now, the discussion should just be on the merits of the motion on the floor.
Your thoughts? Suggestion. I'll allow the question, assuming that it is brief in nature.
Just to clarify, the question he asked is, the mayor's looking for an apology, what am I looking for?
No, what, through you, Mr. Chair, my
Just want
question was,
clarity.
is how do we resolve it? What needs to happen for this, for the integrity commissioner not to be involved? Doesn't matter to me, I guess, in the end, I just feel like it's a waste if we do. So what do you guys need to figure out, essentially?
Can I answer? Sorry, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
making sure I'm not speaking out of context. I would think personally, again, I would actually agree with the mayor in the sense that I feel like this has gotten out of hand. In my opinion, when this was first addressed back on December 6th, I think it was, if the mayor felt that there was a miscommunication or that there was some type of behavior that was presented that wasn't his intention, to me, the proper thing to do would have been to, schedule a mediation with me and with senior staff and have that mediation done. But that's not what happened. The issue just continued to manifest. There was no olive branch or no extension to try to mediate. It was just, it's this way and it's this way or the highway. And what am I looking for? Like, he's asking for an apology? No, I'm not looking for an apology from him. I'm looking to let me do my job and don't harass me. That's pretty simple. Let me do my job, don't harass me. That's it.
It would appear that the divide between the parties is fairly extreme. And in my opinion, for council to consider the merits of the notice of motion is appropriate. Councillor Rahi?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't think it's extreme. She isn't even looking for an apology. She just wants to do what she needs to do. So I don't understand why we still, the reason why I'm asking these questions is because if we can get this figured out, then we don't need this motion. So, is that just, is that my brain thinking like that, or like,
It certainly depends on your perspective. It appears that the divide is large. Mayor Cookett?
Mr. Chair, no one is preventing Councillor Rosie from doing anything. I would like to call the question.
Yes. Right. A vote has been called for on the notice of motion. And, I'll ask that it be a recorded vote.
So, to begin the recorded vote, Councillor Rahe,
yes.
Councillor Van Raes,
Yes.
Councillor Chapman, Councillor DeRosier,
No.
Councillor Osledge,
Yes.
Mayor Cookett,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Barber.
Yes.
Okay, so the vote is carried 6-1.
Thank you, council. I'll relinquish to the chair.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I'm sure that was very easy. Now I've forgotten where we are. All right. We are at item 9, the reading of bylaws and proceedings thereon. And We have a resolution, but I think I can ask to have 931 removed before we do the resolution, right?
Yes. So, would you like the resolution read? Yes, so to read the resolution for council, that council approves and gives 3 readings to bylaw 01-24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 38-22, being a bylaw to make the necessary council and citizen appointments to committees and boards.
Okay. So we have the 931 on the floor. Need a mover and a seconder for that resolution. Councillor Oslach moves, Councillor Van Raes second. Any discussion on that? Councillor Rahe.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Can we remove the BIA portion of this until we hear back from the Integrity Commissioner?
So what you're asking for is an amendment to this motion,
I guess so, yes.
right? You moved amendment to remove the BIA portion of it, which is the appointment and the removal, right? So that's been moved. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Chapman. Great. So we're discussing just the amendment at this point, okay? Okay. So that amendment is on the floor. Do we have a discussion on this? Councillor Rahe.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Could it be removed until we hear back from the Integrity Commissioner, and then we could talk upon it again?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I can assist council. I think in considering that, it's important for council to know that the Integrity Commissioner investigation could take up to 6 months usually. And the other outcome is we do not anticipate any, although Integrity Commissioners have a broad range of jurisdiction on their recommendations, it is unlikely that they will comment on that specific aspect. So if you're looking for the IC to come out with a recommendation on whether or not that appointment change occur, I wouldn't expect that to be an outcome of that.
I'd still like to remove it, though.
You're staying with the amendment? Questions or comments? Councillor Chapman?
Through you, Your Honor, just so I'm clear, that means that the other 2 appointments that are being adjusted would not be happening?
Well, what generally happens is that we would vote on the amendment first. And if the amendment passes, then the amendment would be added to the original motion, correct? And then we would vote on the original motion, which includes those other things. Right, so that wouldn't happen. I do want to remind council that this appointment was passed by council initially, so the bylaw is just the formal part of this particular process. I can't remember exactly what the when that happened, but council did pass the recommendations that were made by me, at a vote of 4-3, I believe. So this bylaw was, is simply like a third reading, sort of, to verify that. Generally bylaws aren't changed, but they can be, and that's fine. You have an amendment on the floor, so that's fine. But it's kind of. No, I said there's no joy here for me to do this. It's just that the mayor has very few areas in which he or she can make recommendations. And the recommendations are not made lightly. They are made after thinking about them and talking to the people concerned. And my recommendation was passed by council earlier. Just to bring you up to date. Any other comments? All right, so we have an amendment on the floor to remove the BIA portion of the bylaw. And so I'm going to ask for a recorded vote on this as well.
Councillor Rahe.
Yes.
Counselor Van Raes,
Yes.
Counselor Chapman, Counselor DeRosier,
Yes.
Counselor Oslich,
No.
Deputy Mayor Barber,
Yes.
Mayor Cookit.
No.
So the motion is carried 5-2.
So the amendment is now part of the original motion. What would the original motion read?
So the original motion will now read that council gives 3 readings to and approves bylaw 01-24 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 38-22 being a bylaw to make the necessary council and citizen appointments to committees and boards, and that council remove the schedule respecting to the BIA from the bylaw.
Mover and seconder. Councilor DesRosier and Councilor Rahi. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? 1. It is carried. So now we have the other bylaws. We have a resolution for that.
That council gives 3 readings to and approves bylaw 16-24 being a bylaw to provide for the indemnity and defense of members of council, members of local boards, and employees and volunteers of the town against loss or liability incurred while acting on behalf of the town. Bylaw 17-24 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement between the town of Aylmer and Family Flowers. Bylaw 18-24 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a subdivision agreement between PCRI and the town to provide for the development of a plan of subdivision. Bylaw 20-24 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on February 7th, 2024. And bylaw 22-24 being a bylaw to establish remuneration for Aylmer Police Service Board members.
Mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Barber and Councilor Chapman. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's carried. Item 10, inquiries by members. 11, statements and committee reports. Councilor Chapman.
Through you, Your Worship, I just want to comment on the gala, that the kinsmen were so gracious to support Terrace Lodge Comforts of Home. It was a success. We had approximately 122 guests, and our community is very generous, and we raised a significant amount of money. The final total is not in yet, so I don't want to comment on that, but the support from our community was awesome, and thank you.
That's very good. I heard it's been very successful, and thank you very much for your central work on that, Councilor Chapman. That was great. Any other statement in committee report? Great report of the mayor. I really don't have anything. Oh, yes, I do. This is 2 months since my last mayor's thank you, and I would like to shout out, is that what they say these days? I would like to thank Aylmer Family Dental for providing, since they've been here, 5 Saturdays of free dental work for the community. That is, they employed all of their dozen or so people and served anyone who came on these free days, and there's been 5 of them, which is a great service to the community, especially for those who can't afford, dental work. So thank you to the Aylmer Family Dental. Notice of motion none. Meeting closed to the public. We have a resolution.
That council moves into a meeting closed to the public at 8:39 p.m. to discuss the following matters. Chief Administrative Officer Report 12-24, boundary adjustments. Director of Legislative Services / Clerk Report, Clerk 02-24, Police Service Board Community Member Appointment, and that consideration of these items is closed to the public pursuant to Section 239, 2C and K of the Municipal Act as the subject matter pertains to C as the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, or a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers, Councilor Chapman, all those in favor? As carried. We'll take a brief recess before we go into close.
Anytime.
Welcome back. We have a resolution coming out closed.
That council rise from the meeting closed to the public at 9:08 PM and reports the following: that council provided confidential direction to the CAO regarding report CAO 12-24 boundary adjustment, and that council provided staff direction to insert the name of Dennis O'Neill into bylaw 21-24 for consideration in open session.
Mover and seconder, Councilor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Is carried unanimously. And,
We'll actually do the bylaw, the appointment bylaw.
oh, yes.
So the resolution for bylaw 21-24 is that council gives 3 readings to and approves bylaw 21-24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 38-22, being a bylaw to make the necessary council and citizen appointments to boards and committees for the Police Service Board.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Chapman, Councilor Oslach. All those in favor? Carried. And adjournment.
That council now adjourn at 9:09 PM.
Mover and seconder, Councilor Desrosiers, Deputy Mayor Barber. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.